Hey folks, thank you for joining us again for another exciting episode of Yomo. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. So, and today we have a brand new book for you. And this book we have a two-part reflection. So, I guess this is one of the a good book that
It's good for me. Yeah, I don't think that this would be a book that a lot of other people would care about, but this was a book that's like tailor made for me at this stage of my life. It's the book's called What I Talk About When I Talk About Running, a memoir by Haruki Murakami. I don't know. I probably am butchering this guy's name. I guess he's a
he's in
pretty
Japanese.
yeah, he's Japanese. Yeah, he's a pretty famous novelist in Japan. This is his memoir. He usually writes fiction. I don't read fiction. I don't know who he is. You can Google him if you want to. Here, I just Googled him really fast. He's got a ton of nonfiction work.
International literary icon.
Yeah, sold millions of copies outside Japan, translated in 50 languages. Like, this guy's a really famous writer. It doesn't really matter to me because I don't read fiction, but this book is it's a memoir of his about, he's also a marathon runner. So it's about his journey of running and writing, basically. So ironically, I was like, oh, cool. Well, a memoir about a runner and a writer, sharing his thoughts on running and writing. I was like,
say, hey, that's me.
yeah, it's like, it sounds kind of cool, which it still blows my mind to say those words out loud, to be honest with you, like, because I cannot express this to you more. This is the anti Chris Sears of pre-Amelia,
right.
of my entire life up until I met Amelia, right? Like, I was a sprinter. Endurance sport stuff was not just a foreign concept to me. It was, I didn't want to understand it. I don't give a shit. I was like, it didn't make sense to me. I don't really care. I know what I like to do, and I did it, and I did it well. But I would see this, and I would be like, it's like going to college, and somebody, it's like, yeah, I'm majoring in, poems of, ancient Russian literature or whatever, and you're like, well, I don't know what that even means. I can't even get my brain wrapped around how somebody could actually give a shit about Russian poem, literature or whatever. Like, it just, I would
it's
just
the furthest thing away from you.
Didn't make sense. Did not make sense to me at all. Does not compute. My brain did not. It was not, and it still doesn't in a lot of ways, to be honest with you. But my whole life, I've told you this. Like, I'm a sprinter. I've always been a sprinter. I talk fast. I do explosive activities. I go really hard, and then I'm very competitive, and then I push it back. Right? Like, I mean, I did this my entire fucking life. Like, tennis, this is why tennis is the best sport for me, because I can push really, really hard, and then I can go, okay, take a break. Push really, really hard, take a break. Push really hard, take a break. Push really hard, take a break, right? Like, if I had to go run cross country when I was a kid, I would have been like, this sucks. Every time that we had to go training runs, it was like 3 miles. It felt like it was like forever to me. I remember when we would go do like a 5K, as like warm-up runs, and I'd be like, a 5K? I'm like, who the fuck runs 5K? This is insane. Like, after like a mile and a half, I'd be like, is this fucking coach serious? Like, like, can we just go run some sprints or something and like puke over the side over there? Like, this is no joke. This is how I felt when I would go to the gym, and I hate lifting, but when I would go lift, I'd lift intensely, and then I would feel like I was going to throw up afterwards. I would run intensely, and I'd feel like I was going to throw up afterwards. I would play really, really hard, and I'd feel like I was going to throw up afterwards. When I was in school, I had a term paper due. Like, let's just give an example. I had a 16-page term paper that was due or something like that and I had all semester to write it. I would wait until
the night before,
and I would start at like 8 p.m. and I would write until about 6 a.m. the following morning when class started at 6:30. Or I'd pound a Red Bull, I'd go to class, I'd drop it off, and I'd be like, fuck yeah, I just wrote 16 pages in 8 hours. This is how I am. Like, this is how I've always been my whole life. And it's like the idea of endurance and writing and slowing it down and going long for no reason for me, like, it just never computed. And then I met Amelia, and then like my entire definition of endurance changed, right? Like, I always saw endurance as, what's the point? Like, it's like, why? Like, why go run 26 miles? Like, why? And this has probably been the biggest profound change. This is why, books like this are interesting to me these days. It wasn't until I met Amelia and I saw, like, she endured. I learned what endurance meant at that point in time when I met Amelia, and I saw from the sidelines of what she did in her life. She didn't endure for fun. She didn't endure for any other reason other than she wanted a shot at life. And like, that's what you have to do to live a meaningful life. You have to endure, and you have to push, and you have to figure out how to fight through things. You can't just go really hard and then take a break, and go really hard and take a break. I mean, that's like the tortoise and the hare. It's fine. You can get places going really fast, and you can figure things out, but you're never going to do anything of substance if you don't factor in endurance and stamina and balance and longevity into the equation. So Amelia was the one that first showed me the power of endurance and enduring for the right reasons, right? So after I met her and after I lost her, I asked her in our morning conversations and our morning writings and over the our doing stuff that we love to do together, which ultimately became writing all the time and conversations we have through this and through other mediums like you and I are talking about it now and through our first book and through whatever else, I learned from her as my soul teacher, that we talked about from The Way of Integrity, what it really was to endure, what this really means, why this is important in life. And that's how I started running all the time. Sorry, I've always worked out all the time. But when I first started making an active point to say, this is something I know that I enjoy doing, just moving my body every single day, and that's the whole point of Living for Two is I owe it to her to do stuff that I want to do to fulfill my values every single day, right? And when I do that, I get to, connect with my daughter. Well, it was during this time in particular when in my working out every single day and trying to make that a part of my life, not just I do it when I want to kind of thing, which was still regular, but just it was sporadic. It was that was when I first started running, and I basically kind of asked her, show me why people do this. Show me why I should run 3 miles. Show me why I should run a mile. Show me why I should run 5 miles. Show me why I should run a half marathon. Show me why I should run even further than that. Show me why we should do anything, and I've learned slowly but surely, day by day, step by step, bird by bird, if you will, over the past 4 years of every single morning getting up and running with my daughter and why it matters to endure. It's you endure because that's what we have to fucking do. If you want to produce anything of value in this world, you have to endure. And that's what this guy talks about is he learned everything that he needed to learn about writing from running. This was his thing was he was like, everybody needs something every single day that they can focus on intensely for a brief period of time, but then be able to endure day after day after day on these things. And that is how you become a writer. And that is how you produce content like we're doing right now. We are enduring every single day. When you and I do this, we focus intensely on one conversation, on one topic, and then we do it day in and day out. That is what makes life meaningful. That is what makes life that's what makes contributions to this world that matter. And when you look back on all this stuff and you go, okay, I was enduring for something that matters, right? I was enduring for whatever reason you want to do it for. But either way, this is the power of endurance and the power of focusing on one thing and enduring and combining those two together, and magical shit starts to happen.
Yeah, so one of the statement you said that resonated with me is, you endure for the right reasons. And there are a lot of reasons to endure, but to endure for the right reason is the only reason that make endurance what it is, the true face of endurance. I mean, if you say, hey, I want to run a 5K or a marathon, a half marathon for a reason other, hey, I want to be on TV. Well, that's a reason, but it's not the right reason. The right reason has to do with you as a person. I mean, you look at how Amelia fight for her life. It's not like she chose to get into this marathon, to this endurance race, right? She had to because she wants something that means something to her, to be able to spend time with her dad and her family. And that is the right reason, is to survive. And for us, we have to find the right reason as well for us to endure. If people think of enduring as, hey, I run a marathon, I run a 5K, because the people who runs a 5K, they know that at the end of the 5K, they get to stop. Because you look at Amelia, it's not like she gets to stop. Enduring is something that people may misuse the word because it's a, hey, I endure a 1 mile run. Well, you're not really enduring anything. Enduring doesn't mean, hey, I do it. I I guess take the misery and the pain for a short while. That's not what endurance means. Endurance is forever. Endurance like, hey, I do like a person who said, I'm gonna run the marathon, right? That marathon never ends. That would be called the true face of endurance.
Yes.
And for me and for you to do the same thing every day for the last 3 years, because you it's been 4 years already. I mean, it's amazingly how fast that has fly, but it's been 4 years since you met Amelia.
Yeah.
So it's been 3 years since you and I have gotten together, and we were doing this for a long time now, based from the perspective of a lot of people. Because the thing is, for us, it's not that long, but from the other people saying, hey, you just talk to Chris like almost forever. What's going on?
Right. Yeah.
It's like that's the definition of what endurance means. Longevity. It means there's no end to it. And it's not something that, hey, I'm looking forward to Friday. You endure the whole week. That's not enduring. That's just
It's
you
a
just
short sprint. It's a sprint. I mean, it's an intense sprint, is what it is. Like this is the fundamental shift in, like
yeah,
I said,
because
in my own
if you're
mindset.
talking about, if you're thinking, hey, I endure the whole work week, well, you don't know what endurance means.
No, it's for life, right? Like this when you endure something, like you said, it is something you do for a long period of time every single day. You endure going to work every single day. Most people do. Like that is endurance. I don't know why people do it, but like most people don't know why they do it. And that's why it sucks. That's why most people go, I don't want to endure shit that I don't want to fucking endure. Nobody wants to endure shit that they don't care about. Like this is the fun. This is actually the conversation might even shift to grit at this point in time, because that's really what grit is passion and perseverance, right? It's doing stuff that you like to do and doing it for every single day, day in and day out, right? That is what the definition of grit is, and in a way that she phrases it. That isn't what you and I think about. I think when most people hear it, but that is what she means by this whole conversation. That's what he means by focus and endurance, right?
You endure for the right reason. And that's what I want to emphasize is the right reason. What is a right reason for somebody? Because to say, hey, I run the marathon because I want to be seen as an athletic person, right? That to me isn't the right reason in my case. I mean, I don't know about you, about other people's case, but for my case, it's not. So I wouldn't go there and run. So for me to endure a marathon like the Boston Marathon or whatever, it's not for me because I don't have that reason, strong enough reason for me to do it. Right. So the right reason is the key word here. The right reason. What is it? And it's not for me to say that the people who run in the Boston marathons and other marathons, they have their own reason. Maybe it's to whatever reason, and it's personal. It's personal to them, and that's fine. But in order for somebody to run and to endure or to do anything that is of endurance, that requires somebody liking and having that value align with who they are for them to endure. And when we endure, right, to me, what I go through to get what I want is worth it. The value of what I want is surely surpass the value of what I have to go through to get it. So this is what make endurance work. Because endurance is like, hey, if I had to do this forever, I mean forever meaning your entire life until like you are physically like passed on to this world. That is what endurance means. If I had to do this forever, is the value from what I'm getting out of it? It is so much more than I had to put in the effort and the struggle and the resistance.
Right.
If you can define that, you find the right reason. The reason
Agreed.
is what it is that you want in the end. That is so much more 10x, surpassing the value of if you had to live for 100 years and you had to do this every single day and compound that over those number of years. And the goal, the thing that you want from that endurance, from having to go through that, is worth 10 times 100. Then you have found your reason. And to me, that would be the right reason. And start with that in order for you to do endurance. Otherwise, I think you would be mistaking what endurance is.
Agreed. I actually have a funny story that came to mind as you were saying that I wanted to share. So I basically eat eggs every morning in some shape or form. I mix up the maybe how I prepare the eggs, but for the most part, I would say 80-90% of the days that I wake up, no matter where I am in the world, to eat eggs. And I just like eggs. I like fried eggs. I like scrambled eggs. I like eggs with cheese. I like eggs over easy, sunny side up. I don't care. I love eggs. I don't know why. I just love eating eggs, and it is what it is, right? My wife, Felicia, her mother-in-law stays with us regularly because she's from Texas. My wife originally is from Texas, San Antonio, and she'll come up and stay with us and whatever, how in-laws are, right? It's like different worlds meeting, especially when they're in your house and,
Yes,
they do what they do and you do what you do. And you're like, you're trying to just coexist a little bit. Everybody's there. Well, whenever her mom's here, she'll subtly pick apart how I go about my day to day, and I'll subtly pick apart how she goes about her day to day. But like, I don't think it ever infringes on being mean to each other, but like making just general commentary about like, oh, why do you do that? Like, what do you do? Anyway, so every morning I'm making eggs, right? She walks by one day and she walks into the kitchen as I'm making this. She's like, don't you ever get tired of eating the same thing every single day? And I go, no. And my head started spinning after this. And I go, as she asked me that, I was like, why do I like eggs so much? I was like, I don't know. And I started to think about it. And I had this idea that I ended up telling her like the next day. I had a good comeback to your egg line, like, I know you weren't like trying to be like stupid about it, but like, I was like, you should like that. I only like that I eat eggs every single day. It's because it's the same reason why I'm going to stay married to your daughter for the rest of her life, because I really like your daughter, right? Like,
I don't get tired of it.
I don't get tired of it. Like,
so imagine if I do.
I like what I like, and I want it to be around, right? So what you were just saying reminded me of that, of like, it's like marriage, right? Like, if you want to get married to somebody to go show off the rest of the world, hey, this is my beautiful wife, I got this trophy wife or husband or whatever it is, or they do this or that, and I want to take them to events and parade them around and show them off on social media. If that's the reason why you got married, like, then it won't last, right? Like, like, now the people that have great marriages, most of the time, I hate to say this, they're not going to be posting all day long on social media about, hey, I got a great marriage. They just have a great marriage. They just enjoy each other. They enjoy like hanging out with. It's not like I wake up every morning and go, oh God, I love eggs. I need to tell the world that I love eggs. I just eat my eggs because I enjoy it. And I go, oh, that was nice eggs. Like, I just did a half marathon. This is one of the reasons why I've never actually competed in an actual running event, because I think it's for vanity. I mean, I was like, I don't care. Like, it's nice to run.
You're gonna run, just go to the park and run and
run. If I want to run with friends, I'm gonna say, hey friends, do you want to go run with me on a run? Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Great. I don't need 10,000 people that I don't know to run next to me and on an event, where I can get a little TV, fucking medal at the end of it, on TV, and have go on social media afterwards and be like, I just did my Disney Princess Marathon or whatever, and I don't give a fuck, right? Like on Thanksgiving Day, I did Amelia and I, my running buddy, and I ran for 13.2 or 13.3 miles, actually, a little over a half marathon before Thanksgiving. And like, a part of me wanted to go, well, I got home and I was like, well, cool. That was that. I just ran. I walked in the house. Nobody was there cheering me on. I didn't need to go on social media and go, I just ran a half marathon for my turkey day. My daughter and I, there's a very spiritual moment one time when we were running, we were listening to a book and blah, blah, like, and people be like, what the fuck? I don't care. Like, and not only do they not care, like, I don't do it for that. I do it because I was spending time with my daughter and just out having fun and running for running's sake, right? And that's why I will continue to do it every single day. That's why I'll eat my fucking eggs. That's why I would say married to my wife.
I mean, you're gonna eat the eggs whether your mother-in-law is there or not. And that's the point. Exactly. Right. If you need validation from people, right? Sometimes people are not there to give you validation. So you're gonna stop running. Therefore, endurance doesn't work in that reason. So the reason has to be the right reason. It has something that pertains to you as a person, to your core values as the person you need to be. Because if you do that, regardless of where you are in the world, you want to have an egg, right? Regardless of what you do, you're going to do that forever.
Right.
You're not going to change, hey, today I want a new wife. Because I already show her, hey, I got this wife from Texas. Now I got this wife from New York City. It's like, oh, you know what I mean? Because the point of impressing somebody is they want to bring something new to the scene. And so you can, hey, this wife, this person here is from Wyoming.
Right. Yep.
And this other wife can do this. So do you imagine how chaotic that is?
Horrible.
I mean, it doesn't work. So endurance in that sense of a definition is not what endurance is supposed to be. It's not the true endurance. People misuse the word endurance. And I think, that the lesson for us is like, endurance is hard, but it cannot be achieved unless the value of the reason, it is so much more than what you have to go through to get it.
Yep. 100%. Don't do it for anybody else but yourself. If you are doing it, then do it because you like to do it.
If you ask yourself, can I do this forever?
If the answer is no,
then it's not.
Like my monthly challenge this month of running every day with my pack on. I've done it every single day. I've not missed a single day other than one day. And that was the day that I ran that half marathon, because I was like, I'm not going to fucking run a half marathon with extra weight on my fucking back. I was like, it's stupid. I was like, I'm not going to be stupid about it. So like, I didn't run that day and I knew I was already going to be tired. So I didn't want to go on a walk or whatever. Well, no joke. Like I want this fucking pack off of my back so bad. I do not want to take it. I don't want to run another day with this fucking pack on my back. I'm looking forward to going, oh man, I'll just put that on when I want an extra challenge on a run or whatever. But like doing it day in and day out, if I had to run with that everything, I'd be like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Like,
and that's not the right reason. And just by answering that question, can you do this forever?
No.
Then if it's not a hell yes, then that's not the right reason. Keep looking.
Look at Yomo, right? I mean, this was a monthly challenge. This started off as a monthly challenge of writing these things. At the end of it, I was like, can I do this forever? And I was like, I think I can. This is something incredibly rewarding. And then look at where we are now with what you and I are doing on top of this. I think I finished, what was it yesterday? Where'd you go? What? Oh, all the crap's in the way. Yesterday,
way down.
We finished 419.
419. All right.
So like, I mean, I actually thought about this yesterday or a couple days ago. I was like, when does this end? You know? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know that I ever want it to end. I mean, like, it's not hard for me to write an hour reflection on books that I enjoyed, you know, and lessons that I learned, and it's fun. I've been going back.
I mean, this is the point, because the thing is, I mean, to be honest with you, I have never. I know you write books, right? I know you read books and you write reflection on the books, but from my perspective is, I look at this Yomo as a get together for me and you. It's a get together. I mean, we did this even before the writing, because we get together and we talk about whatever, like, right? Because even today, you know, we had to cut short our conversation just because we want to do the book, because we had other things to talk about. Right. And that's, to me, is this is, from my perspective, just a casual conversation between me and you, and we are solving our own problem, you know, the thing we want to find answers to, and whatever. And the conversation we had before this was just as exciting as having this one.
It will be more someday.
Because we have this as a schedule, that's why we have to kind of cut the other one short and do this. Yep. But imagine this is something you and I get together and just shoot the breeze. And that is something that, for me, I don't think of Yomo as a Yomo podcast per se. No, I just think of it as a True and Chris get together and just talk shit. Yep. Right? And to me, that's like, okay, I don't even consider as, hey, an ending, because I know that there is going to be an end to the book, but I don't foresee, or don't want to foresee, you and I stop talking.
I don't see that. If anything, we'll just figure out what else we want to talk about. That's what we did before. That's what we'll do afterward.
The thing for me is that every single time we get on there, when there is no agenda, no nothing, we just get on there. I was telling you before that I just get back from a run, and then we just get on and talk. And so when I see you, you and I have something to talk about. Yeah. There's always something to talk about. Things change and things will come up, and there's some lesson and some reflection we can always learn out of anything that we've seen in a day. To me, we will never ever run out of things to talk about, especially from Chris, because, you know, that's just who he is.
That was a reflection from a couple books past, the What If book. That they're literally, you know, that he went through it. You know, the question was, you know, how many sentences can you come up with or whatever using X amount of characters or whatever. And I can't remember the exact question, but the answer was, we will never run out of words in the English language to connect together.
We use the word in different context and different level of understanding, because a lot of times we have not even scratched the surface of the understanding of some of the things we have discovered. You know, it's like, for you to be able to mentor somebody, you need a deeper understanding and more of a experience and examples of how to articulate some of these concepts to other people. Because in the beginning, you and I were struggling to describe what company is.
We didn't know what it was ourselves. We were like, well, it's like you came back from an acid trip and you're like, it's love, man. Like, you know, it's love. Like, I know what it means in my head, but there is no words to describe it to you.
And we have so many different definitions of what it is, and we keep revising. But now, get to the point where today, you and I cannot come with a better definition that's meaningful working relationship. And to me, it's been probably like a year now or more that we have settled onto that definition. And I have not think of another better and more insightful definition to it than that. I cannot simplify any further.
There's an iceberg underneath that of why you're like, yeah, well, that makes sense. It checks this box. Well, wait a minute, but does it cover this? Yeah, no, it covers that. Like, all right, here's the little little tip at the top where we can write down, what it is, and like that immediately signals, like an iceberg of conversations and knowledge and learnings and whatever else that we've gone through in the past. We're like, yeah, no, that is it. Like, like focus and endurance, meaningful work, meaningful relationships. You can't endure and you can't have focus on anything if it's not meaningful, and it's not, and honestly, you want to do it with other people too. I don't know that I could do this without Amelia. Like, I don't know that I could go run a half marathon and not ever tell a single soul about it. But I don't have to not ever tell a single soul. Amelia is with me. I tell her this, like, like I write about I tell her this stuff when I write about these things, that I tell you, like, there are people that care that I want to share this stuff with. I do this, but I don't do it
to people that can receive. This is what we were talking about in the previous episode, is without anyone understanding what you're saying, it doesn't give you that satisfaction.
It's just bragging. It's not even that satisfaction. It's just, then you're just an asshole. You're like, they're like, I don't care, Chris, that you run.
You become annoying in a sense, right?
you're like, cool. You've been running every day with a weighted vest on your back.
Oh.
Okay, like, what do you do?
You're talking to somebody, really, how many pounds? How far do you go? When do you start? And how do you store this thing? Does it make sound? Blah, blah. This is when the conversations start to get exciting, because these people are receptive of the ideas and the concept that you share. And only that can build on. Because if you talk to somebody and say, how can you further the understanding if that person keeps saying, no, because they're not receiving what you're sharing. And sharing, that's where meaningful relationship is like the yin and yang of meaningful work, because whatever you do has to have somebody to receive it. Because if they don't receive it, then it's, for whatever reason, it doesn't bounce back for you to say, hey, yeah, that person receive it, I can continue on to the next step. Because if I say something but you don't understand it, there's no need to the next step. It's just lost.
I distinctly remember, I will never forget this, to be honest with you. My first boss at Salesforce, her name is Janine. She's the one that recruited me away from my old job at HC1, and I accepted her offer to join her team at Salesforce. Within 2 months or 3 months of me starting at Salesforce, she kind of got demoted back down to a leadership role in a vertical that's, like a smaller size companies. It's kind of a demotion. She was still in a leadership role, but like she was no longer at the level that she was at with the team that I was on. Like, she went down a level of the teams that she was leading, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it was her boss just didn't like her, or I don't know. It doesn't matter. But anyway, after a couple months of working with her, she was no longer my manager, but she was still a really good person and was somebody that I valued her friendship in general. And I'd gotten to know her, before I started working at Salesforce. She recruited me away, and then, had a couple months spending time with her. She's a really nice person, and I like her. She's a good person, right? Just as a friend, So after everything happened with Amelia, fast forward, like, I don't know, I guess that was around like August of 2019 when she moved down, and then Amelia was born in March of 2020. So fast forward like 8 or 9 months or so, I hadn't been under her leadership, and I would see her around the office, but then obviously she knew what was going on with me, while I was away. So I came back to work in August of 2020. And when I did come back, she just reached out and was like, hey, glad to see you back. I'd love to catch up or whatever. And we ended up having a conversation for like 20 minutes or something like that, one of the first couple of days that I came back. And it was good just catching up with her. I remember her asking me, like, you never know what to say to somebody in this situation, right? From her perspective, right? Understanding of this. I remember her saying, like, you seem like you're doing pretty okay. I can't remember the exact questions she asked, but it was something along the lines of, what have you been doing to get back to being able to seem like you get where I'm going? And my answer back to her at that time was, I don't know. I think just try to spend 30 minutes a day outside and running around or whatever, and reading a book every day, and spending some time writing and gather my thoughts, and just did that every single day. And I learned a lot about why this happened, why this did, whatever, something along those lines. And I was like, it really has kind of changed everything for me. And I remember her going, oh, okay, cool. I had this moment of, already at that point in time, this is only a few months later. This is like August of 2020. This is about when I met you for the most part,
Right.
And I remember going, no one's going to understand this. Like, I mean, they're not going to spend the time. I could tell them what I'm doing. I could tell them why this is happening, but unless they really fucking want to care, like,
it's a conversation. Should have a conversation. It's not really a conversation. It's like you're just going through the motion.
Not only that, I felt weird trying to, because if you just boil down, if you just boil down everything that's been going on for the past 4 years of like, and you and I have been around for 3.5 of this, you know, really all I do every single day, you can go, Chris, all you do is just, you know, you try to read a book every day and write some stuff down and get an exercise in or whatever. And then you talk about it with your friend and you know, like, that's cool. Like, whatever, it's fine. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. If that's all you want to boil down to is the accumulation of the activities that I've been doing, I was like, no, this is about my daughter. This is about being the person that I want to be, understanding what matters to me in my life, understanding the people I want to be around, understanding the work that I want to do with those people that I want to be around. Like, there's so many other elements below in this iceberg. But if I tried to just summarize it to somebody and of like, okay, great, focus on what do you do? And you go, well, this is what I do, you know, every single day. And they're like, okay, that's neat. Like, I don't really want to hear about this. Like, you know what I mean? And they're like,
right, but that's the same thing that, you know, from my perspective, is looking at a person who's running a marathon, right? I don't understand why they do it. So the same thing from other people looking at us, say, hey, what do you do, True? What do you do, Chris? I just talk to Chris. It's like, okay, you call this endurance? Like, I don't understand it. But the thing is, there's so much more. There's so much more, and there are reasons why we do it.
Right.
And that's why I respect the people who does the marathon thing. For me, is I don't understand that, and that's fine because, you know, I'm not into that. So for them, they have their own reason. But the question we want to ask is, you know, you ask yourself the question is, do you understand why the right reason for you? So that's why I'm saying, you know, for you to say, hey, there's no way that, you know, Janine will understand what what do you say to her? Because what you say to her is on the surface. It's like, hey, that's very bland and boring kind of activity. All you do is you read books and you just go on and talk to this Asian guy.
Right.
All right.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And so I was like, so the thing is, they're gonna scratch their head, say, okay, that's cool.
And I don't even want to get it, you know. And like,
if that's the reaction, is how can you continue to say, hey, you know, now the core values, the meaningful work, meaningful relationship, they even must stand, they don't want for train.
Right.
I mean, how can you even go? How can you tell her the next thing?
You can't. Like, this is the fundamental thing of what I was trying to get to with sharing that story was like, I learned very, very early on, if like in this whole journey, and this is a lesson for anybody, if you are going to focus and endure on things that you love, other people are not going to understand it. The majority of people will not understand it, right? And that's okay. There are going to be people that do understand it. Those people talk all day long, share all day long. You're one of the people that do understand this, and I understand.
And they want to hear it, because
they want to hear it.
When they are receptive of your story, that means they are almost in the same boat as you. They want to learn from you. That is why the conversation is elevating to the next level, and the next level of understanding and interest, right? Because you and I talk to you for my own interest. It's not because I'm helping you or anything. I'm doing it for my own sake, right?
And same thing.
I want to learn because there are values that I want to apply to my life because of what I'm interested in or what I want out of it. Yeah. And so that's the reason why this works. It's because if I had to do it for you as a charity, it doesn't work unless I have the God-given talent to give. And there's some people who do, which is going to give them the ability to say, hey, I have the ability to give, therefore it makes my life fulfilled. And so you fulfill whatever you had to fulfill to make your life meaningful. And I think that's the key. I mean, go back to what I'm saying, is the key is the right reason. And the right reason has to align with the goals that you want. That is going to be so much more valuable than all the endurance you have to endure, all the shit you have to go through to get there, right? And so that will pinpoint to you why something that is worth enduring for, and i.e., you know, the endurance, the meaning of endurance, the real meaning of endurance is that, versus, hey, I had to do this, do that. Because if you're talking to Janine and she doesn't get it, well, there's not going to be an interest in you or her next sharing level or next set of information, and she has no incentive to even want to listen to you further, because it's a bored out of her mind, and she is nodding out of boredom to say, hey, when is this conversation going to end, because my mind is shutting down.
And most people, as the talker in that scenario, are going to go, man, I just sound like I'm bragging about something, you know? And I'm like, that couldn't be the furthest thing from what I wanted to share about my daughter. I would never brag about what I've learned from Amelia because she's not fucking here. This isn't a good thing, right? Like, this is just how I've changed my life in order to figure out how to keep her in my life, right? You know, and to try to explain that to somebody else, like, unless they really want to understand that, if I just try to explain what's going on every single day, you would think I'm just bragging about it. You would go, well, he's just bragging about running a half marathon with a pack on his back every single day while he's talking about cool books that he reads and stuff that he learns, right? You know, and you're like,
yeah, he's trying
that's
to be
not
smart.
it. He's just trying to be an asshole.
He's annoying.
Like, yes, like that's exactly what, like, that's immediately in that moment. That's what I thought of. Her old boss, his name was Mike, who was my interim boss while she was demoted for a while. He was like my boss's boss, basically. And, you know, as just a human being, he was catching up with me as well and going, hey, I'm glad to have you back. Like, we would have skip level meetings and, you know, and talk about Amelia, you know, what was going on and stuff like that. And I could tell he just did not understand how to have a conversation with me. He could not. I tried to explain to him what I could understand of what was going on, what I was trying to accomplish and what I wanted to make of my life and honor my daughter. Like, he just could not fucking process it. And I was like, I'm just done telling people this unless they want to ask, right? Like, you know, I feel bad because I don't want to put them in a situation where they're trying to go like, what message is he trying to send to me? You know? And then number two, it's like, I don't want to tell you anymore. Like, I don't have time to fucking, I got shit to do.
Yeah,
you know,
there's
like,
no connections. Yeah,
right,
there's no connection, and that's the thing is finding the right reason and the right people. That's to me, it's the bottom line. We have to cut short because I have to jump to the next one. But great conversation as always. And I guess the questions we are leaving with you is that you channeling your energy into the right activities. And I guess my question is, you know, are you enduring for the right reason? Which is, you know, borrowing from your word, Chris.
I love that. And I got to make one final note. I know you got to jump. This is the only time I can remember that True has gone, I gotta go run for a train right now. So like I'm marking this down as a day in history